What's up, guys? This is Kephas. Okay, so the prayer beads are not spawning for me. They're supposed to be right here, I'm pretty sure, and they're not. So I'm just going to kind of ignore this quest. I know they're here. Like, I actually, funny thing, I looked up a guide because I was like, I know they're here and they're not. And sure enough, like, all the guides tell me that they're right freaking here and they're not here. So what the heck ever. We're just going to skip that quest and move on with our lives because I got things to do. We got to go kill these guys, I guess. So, okay, anyway. Yeah, and also I noticed, like, I was talking all the stuff about guides, and I've got Azeroth Autopilot right on the screen, so it's not lost on me. Of course, you know, in this game, like I said, it's one of those things where, like, if all the information is out there already, you've done it 100 times, then using a guide at this point is kind of, like, inconsequential, because it's like, I've done this already, and I'm just using this to get me through it. Yeah, there's a lot to that kind of stuff unpacking, but I was talking about Death Stranding, and talking about, like, people having different tastes, and how much there is to games. It's like, you know, like Death Stranding, for a lot of people, it's very appealing to have like Norman Reedus be the main character, you know, and have a very compelling story. But then if the gameplay's boring, then a lot of other people are going to be like, I'm not feeling this because for me, it's all about the gameplay. You know, we're going to just skip. Let's see, what are we doing? There's a lot of these quests here that I'm just like, whatever. Like, a lot of these, I just kind of, like, move on. It might be time to move on to a new zone anyways. But let's go up and do the stuff up here, because I'm like, oh. I always play through part of Hellfire, and then I move on to Zangarmarsh, and then that's where the real craziness happens. But, yeah, that's why Death Stranding is, like, so divisive. Because different people like different things from the game. Like, people like different things. So, like, a lot of people insist that God of War is, you know, like, one of the most amazing games of all time. And I played it, and I wasn't really into it. Like, I just wasn't really feeling it like a lot of people are. Because I like a good story as much as the next guy. Don't get me wrong, I do. But for me, a game is all about the gameplay. At the end of the day, a game is made by the gameplay. And the story enhances that. For other people, a game can have terrible gameplay, but if the story's good, then that's all they want. So that's a good example of it. And so with Death Stranding, it's putting people to sleep. The game is boring to a lot of people. Now, there are some gameplay loops that hook people, but for a lot of people, it's very boring. It's just it's a walking sim. And that's a term that's used a lot for a lot of those, like, PlayStation games. You know, God of War, Horizon, which Horizon's not so much a walking sim. You know, it's got a lot of gameplay to it. And some people would argue that Breath of the Wild is a walking sim. I mean, you do a lot of running and climbing, or it's a climbing sim. But that's the thing, is like, it's different games are going to appeal to people in different ways. And I think that it's important sometimes. It's a fine line when you're trying to define a bad game. You know, like, this is a bad game. Well, I don't think it's a bad game. I think it's a great game. It's like, well, no matter what you do, everybody's going to have a different opinion. That's why I don't like review scores, because, like, some people look at Death Stranding and they say, oh, this is a 10. Other people look at it and say, oh, this is a 6, you know, or 5. It's okay. It's not great. And that's the challenge, right? Like, Death Stranding is a great example of a game that review scores don't work. It's also a great example of a game that we need to quit just saying that a game is good just because of who made it. Like, you guys know when I did the BlizzCon video way back when, I expressed this thing where it's like, I'm a Nintendo fan, or no, I'm a Mario fan and a Zelda fan, I'm not a Nintendo fan. I'm a WoW fan, a Diablo fan, and an Overwatch fan. I'm not a Blizzard fan. It's very, I make that distinction purposefully because I don't care who makes the game. I don't care. You know, sure, if Blizzard makes a new game, I'm interested because they usually make some good games. They're usually fun to play. And same with Nintendo. But at the same time, just because a game is made by Nintendo or Blizzard doesn't automatically make it good, and it doesn't automatically mean that those games can't be criticized because, you know, because the company that you like so much made it. It's the same with Kojima. Like, a lot of people were saying that Death Stranding was good before the game even came out, and that's only because it was made by Hideo Kojima. You know, it's like, come on, dude. Like, that doesn't mean automatically that the game is good. Okay? I'm very frustrated with people who are fans of publishers, game publishers, game developers. I'm not saying that you should be mean to them, but at the same time, it's like, look, it's all about the games. It's not about who makes them. You know, they're not the guys that make them. They're not rock stars. I think the only real rock star, well, Kojima's probably a bit of a rock star for a lot of people. Shigeru Miyamoto is a rock star. Blizzard has people that think they're rock stars. Jeff Kaplan's kind of a rock star. He's the gem of Blizzard, in my opinion. He's the best thing at Blizzard nowadays. Metzen was kind of a rock star as well. But you know, even then, it's like it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, all I care about are the games. Like, was the game fun to play? Was the game good? That's all I care about. And you know, so like with WoW, like it's fun sometimes even to play retail, even though it's like, meh, like it's not. I'm not thinking about it. But when my wife comes home and we're just chilling, we're deep in conversation, sometimes mindlessly playing WoW, farming ore, or just leveling up a character mindlessly. It's fine. It serves a purpose for me when I'm not trying to be super invested in whatever I'm doing, which, yeah, and there's a place for games like that. I think like Monster Hunter World is another game like that, where I do the same thing, grinding, right? Some people hate grinding, but it's like, well, sometimes grinding is fine because it's just depends on what you want at the moment. Sometimes if you're just like if I remember when I was in school, I would love to play like a game, like if I was listening to an audiobook because I hated reading, I would play a game like Pokemon or Final Fantasy, where I would grind because I would play that. It would give me something to do while listening to an audiobook, and I would retain the information really well. So sometimes it's a nice distraction while you're also doing something else. That doesn't necessarily mean, though, that the game itself is great. Like you know, like ideally, you have something that you know you have to like that is captivating, it's immersive, it's interesting, right? That's what you really want from most games. But it's okay with a game like WoW as well because it's a long-term, very repetitive game. It's going to always be that way. You're going to be like if you level up your 5th toon. I mean, I'm leveling up probably like I'm well over 20 now, surely. Oh yeah, I'm like probably in my 50s at this point. I've leveled up, even deleted so many tunes, it's ridiculous. You know, at that point, it's like, okay, wow. I mean, you're not going to be as invested the 50th time as you were your first time, right? That's just the way it goes. But, you know, we're going to clear out, oh, we got to kill him. I remember when this guy was an elite, and he wasn't one that you could do by yourself. Nowadays, you just walk up and he's a joke. So, that's what we're going to do. We're going to just take this guy out. The Cruel. So, yeah, like I said, a lot of rambling, but I like, man, I can talk I've learned this about myself. I can talk all day about video games. I am a video game nut. I've accepted my place in the world as a video game freak. I love video games. I don't know if I would ever want to work in the industry because I think that would make me hate video games, but I'm happy to make YouTube videos because at the end of the day, that's part of what defines me is I'm a visually impaired guy who loves playing video games, and video games have always been a big part of my life. So I'll get on these videos. That's why I love doing these leveling videos, because I can sit here and just ramble for hours about just whatever the crap. Hopefully people who are listening can follow along, because my mind just kind of just runs all over the place. I get distracted. I switch to a different topic halfway through one topic. I'll break a sentence and just switch to something else because I get so excited talking about, you know, video games. It's crazy, and it's something like that's why like I always, you know, it's weird because like I always want the focus of the video game world to be on the games themselves. I don't want it to be on, you know, other things like developers, publishers. I don't want it to be about them. I always, at the end of the day, want it to be about the games. What about the games? You know, the game characters, the game worlds, the IPs. That's what matters at the end of the day. It's kind of like, you know, I haven't talked about this much, so I'm going to talk about it and hope that no one gets mad at me, because it's a controversial topic. But it's, you know, the only thing I've ever said about the whole Blitzchung thing was that I stand with Hong Kong and I stand with Blitzchung because I feel like he got a bad deal, right? Hey, there's Fel. What the heck? I forgot about him. What's he want? He wants something. Hang on. This is... Oh, he wants a bone? I don't know. It's whatever. I'm not even going to worry about it. But, yeah, so I haven't talked a lot about the Blitzchung thing. And at the point of making this video, you know, everything happened. This is well after that's happened, but it's still on my mind a lot. But he obviously, he said something, I guess, political. Some people say it's not political, it's human rights. A lot of things are political now, but I think that one in particular is definitely, like, if you are if you believe in freedom, if you believe in equality and all that kind of stuff, and you're and live in the Western world, then you are going to be very much on board with free Hong Kong, because free Hong Kong from a tyrannical, oppressive government, right? That's something that I think that most Westerners from all Western nations are going to side with, right? That's just the way it is, and that's why there's going to be a point where it's going to be hard to please a communist country and also please your Western market as well. I don't think you're going to be successful, because we're very much at odds when it comes to that kind of stuff. That's part of the problem. But so I stand with everything that Blitzchung said. And obviously he didn't say much. He said very little and got a massive punishment initially. And honestly, the 6-month ban to me is still too much. And just a lot of the stuff around it, just the things that was said by developers. I think that J. Allen Brack's apology at BlizzCon was a joke. I think he can take his virtue signaling and his pandering and his just his PR speak and cram it. I think, and it makes me sick that people were like, golf clapping. Oh, Mr. Brack, such a good job. You did so well. It's like, give me a break, dude. Give me a friggin' break. Like, that was a joke, and just the way, and that's why, again, I with Jeff Kaplan coming out and saying, I think it was stupid as well. I don't know what Blizzard is doing. Like, he should not have been punished that harsh. And that's kind of what it comes down to, right? Like, the question that you could ask is, should he have been punished at all? Maybe a slap on the wrist. He didn't say much. And what he did say, I think a lot of the problem is, there's a couple of things. One, Blizzard is very vague in how they define what is a punishable offense in terms of speaking politically or whatever. They kind of leave it to their own discretion. So part of the problem, what made it so dubious, not only was it the harshness and swiftness of the punishment, but it's the fact that their hill to die on was saying that a country should not be held down by an oppressive government. It should be free from that oppressive government. That's a problem. You're not talking about divisive issues. I think one thing, whether you're left or right, I think one thing we can all agree on is that people should be allowed to be free and not be ruled by a tyrannical government. So if your stance, you're deciding that your hill to die on, the thing that you're going to punish a guy for is, that's a problem, right? That's what's going to rub people the wrong way, and that's partially why it was such a big deal. And then, of course, like I said, the swiftness of it. So that's a lot of it's just the vagueness of their rule. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, let me know by clicking that like button, and feel free to share it with your friends so they can enjoy it as well. Don't forget, you can subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to be notified as soon as new videos are posted. You can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and if you'd like, you can support this channel on Patreon. Links to all of this can be found in the description below. This is Kephas. Until next time.